The call came in around 3 a.m., dispatch crackling with urgency. Unit 12, we have a report of a disturbance at the Sunset Motel. Carla heard screams and loud noises in one of the rooms. Approach with caution. Over. I acknowledged the call and wasted no time. I flipped on my lights and siren, speeding through empty streets to the Sunset Motel, a rundown place that had seen better days. I pulled up, noting room 4, where the commotion had been reported. The night was dark, and only the flickering motel sign broke the inky blackness. I stepped out of my cruiser, hand resting on my service weapon. With a quick radio check-in, I informed dispatch of my arrival and approached the room. The door was ajar, revealing a dimly lit interior. "Police, open the door slowly," I called out, my voice authoritative, but concerned coursing beneath the surface. The door creaked open to reveal a man, unshaven, wild-eyed, and drenched in sweat. He clutched a trembling woman in a stranglehold. Two other terrified individuals huddled on the room's disheveled beds. I maintained a cautious distance, radioing in the situation and requesting backup. The man's eyes darted around, his grip on the woman growing even more desperate. Time was running out, and I could feel the situation slipping toward disaster. My mind raced as I tried to formulate a plan, my heart pounding against my chest. Backup finally arrived, and we moved together with practiced precision. Two officers positioned themselves for a clear shot if needed, while I continued to negotiate. The additional presence seemed to momentarily distract the man. In a sudden moment of clarity, the woman he held managed to break free, and a flurry of commotion followed. Shots rang out, and chaos reigned in the confined space of the motel room. When the dust settled, the man lay on the floor, subdued but alive. The hostages were safe, if shaken, and I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness for the man who had forced us into this nightmarish ordeal. As the paramedics arrived to tend to the injured, I stood outside the motel, my mind racing with the horror of the encounter. It was a chilling reminder of the darkness that can take root within the human soul. No paranormal forces or otherworldly horrors could match the real-life terror I had just experienced. Working the night shift at a quaint, family-run hotel was usually uneventful. I'd greet late arrivals, tidy the lobby, and occasionally serve a nightcap to weary travelers. But one particular night, as the witching hour approached, my usual sense of routine gave way to something inexplicable. A frail, elderly lady entered the lobby, her footsteps slow and deliberate. Her presence sent shivers down my spine. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something about her was deeply unsettling. Her eyes, though glazed with age, held a piercing intensity that met my own in a silent challenge. "Good evening, ma'am. How can I assist you?" I inquired, maintaining my professional demeanor. She didn't answer. Instead, her gaze remained fixed on me. I sensed a gravity in the air, as though she'd carried some dark secret with her. After a few moments of awkward silence, she finally spoke in a voice that was a mere whisper. "I need a room." I led her through the empty hallway to a vacant room. As I handed her the key, our eyes locked again, and I felt a sense of dread wash over me. It was as if she could see something within me, something I couldn't. "I don't need the room for long," she murmured, her bony hand clutching the key tightly. "Just a few hours." The cryptic nature of her request sent a chill through my core, but I simply nodded and watched her shuffle into the room. As I turned to tend to my other duties, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just been party to something deeply unnerving. The hours passed slowly, and I kept a vigilant eye on the clock. When it was time to check in on the elderly guest, I knocked softly on her door. "Ma'am, it's time to check out," I announced, my voice betraying my anxiety. But there was no response. My knuckles rapped against the door again, louder this time. Still nothing. Summoning my courage, I used the master key to open the door.
The room was cloaked in darkness, the air heavy with an indescribable sense of foreboding. "Ma'am?" I called out, stepping further into the room. And that's when I saw her. The elderly lady was standing in the corner, her eyes unblinking, her thin lips curled into a sinister smile. But the true horror lay in her hands, which held a blood-stained knife. It wasn't just any knife, it was one from the hotel's restaurant. My heart raced, and I fumbled to retreat, but the door had slammed shut behind me. I was trapped in this macabre scene. The old lady slowly advanced toward me, the knife glinting in the dim light. I tried to reason with her, to understand her motives, but her eyes, those dark and malevolent eyes, gave nothing away. The standoff between us seemed to stretch for an eternity. Every step she took, I matched with my own desperate retreat. But the room was small, and my escape was impossible. Finally, she lunged at me, her frail frame masking a horrifying strength. In the ensuing struggle, I managed to wrest a knife from her grasp and call for help. The police arrived swiftly, taking the woman into custody. She never spoke a word during her arrest, but her eyes retained that eerie, knowing glint. In the aftermath, as the police pieced together her backstory, I learned the terrifying truth. She had once lived in the hotel, her actions fueled by a vendetta decades in the making. Her encounter with me was the culmination of a dark history tied to the hotel's past. In the days that followed, as life at the hotel resumed its normal rhythm, I couldn't shake the feeling that something profound had passed through that night. I'd survived a chilling encounter with a seemingly harmless old lady, and it was a lesson I'd carry with me forever, a reminder that danger can often wear the most unassuming mask.
I was never one to believe in things that go bump in the night or spooky tales about haunted hotels. In fact, I relished the night shift as a delivery driver for a catering company, a job that took me to all kinds of remote places. But one fateful night, I had an encounter that would shatter my skepticism. The delivery order was for a small hotel nestled deep in the countryside, far from the city lights. A perfect place for a peaceful retreat, or so I thought. The hotel's name was Whispering Pines, and its remote location was a red flag right from the start. The winding roads leading to the place were barely wide enough for my delivery van, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. As I pulled up to the hotel, the place looked like it had seen better days. Its Victorian-era architecture was charming but dilapidated, and the lack of modern amenities was immediately apparent. The only source of light came from the dim glow of old-fashioned lanterns. Despite my doubts, I parked and began unloading the catering order. There was no turning back now. The door to the hotel's kitchen was ajar, and I carried the trays inside. But as I made my way to the storeroom to store the food, I found the door was locked, which was odd considering they were expecting this delivery. I retraced my steps and made my way to the front desk, where I hoped to find someone who could unlock the storeroom. The reception area was eerily empty, and a sense of isolation settled over me. "Hello?" I called out, but there was no response. Just as I was about to turn and leave, I heard footsteps behind me. I spun around to see a tall, thin man. His appearance was unsettling. Wild, unkempt hair, ragged clothing, and eyes that glinted with an eerie intensity. I could smell the stench of alcohol on his breath. "Who are you?" I stammered, my heart quickening. He didn't answer my question. Instead, he mumbled incoherently and shuffled closer, his body swaying unsteadily. A sickly grin crossed his lips. Fear gripped me, and I backed away slowly. I had to get out of there, but the man's demeanor made it clear that he was unpredictable and potentially dangerous. I was now trapped in a dark, decrepit hotel with this stranger. As I moved to exit the hotel, the man lunged at me with a guttural shout. I barely managed to evade his grasp, making a run for the van.
The wind howled around me as I fumbled for my keys and scrambled into the driver's seat. Panic coursed through me as I sped away from Whispering Pines, my delivery